Monday Night Chat with Wong Chen.
Brought to you by the Member of Parliament for Subang.
Hi, welcome to Monday Night Chat episode 12. This is the, we had the two weeks of break, so now we're back again. And as usual, we'll be doing Policy Monday and also Q&A in 120 seconds. For Policy Monday, we're just doing a little bit of a difference. We're going to talk about the travels I've been doing in the last 1 month plus. Hi, for Policy Monday this week, I'm going to talk about the travels I've been pursuing since September until the end of October. Yeah, basically during this period of September to end of October, which is about 2 months, I went to 4 countries, starting with the 3rd of September to the 7th of September, doing work for IPA, which is ASEAN Inter-Parliamentarian, I don't know what that is, stand for association or something like that. But basically, IPA is when we have the backbench members of parliament from ASEAN, Indonesia, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, all gathering in Singapore, where we do networking and also consider ASEAN issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about that trip and talk about the other trips and say and give you a breakdown. What have I learned in the process? What I learned in IPA? Well, first is networking for ASEAN members. We talked a lot about Rohingya issues. We talked about palm oil trade in terms of EU relations with us. But primarily for us, when we talk about policies, we're talking about reform policies for Malaysia. I had a really, really good discussions with the Singaporean counterparts, and they're famous for their anti-corruption policy. So the speaker gave me some notes. Members of parliament from the opposition and the government of Singapore also discussed some of the issues, how they tackle corruption. Yeah. Now, as for the second trip, which is the 20th to 25th of September, that was in the Australian National University, ANU. The trip is really for me to deliver my speech on what reforms are needed for the new Malaysia. Yeah, so you can watch those speech. I think we're going to try and flash down the connection for it or the link to it. But broadly speaking, also there's an opportunity to meet Malaysian students, to talk to them about their concerns for the new Malaysia. But I stayed at Professor Milner's place, and Professor Milner is the big historian on Malaysian history. So I spent 2 nights with him. 3 days, 2 nights, and we had this long-ranging discussion on anthropological, historical, and cultural aspects of Malaysia. And this is the key thing. We are now moving towards policy making by learning policies from around the world, laws from around the world, taking it back, look at the Malaysian cultural aspects, and then through that we merge this adaptive process. We don't adopt, we take and we adapt. And that, I think, is the biggest thing that I learned from ANU, the trip to ANU. Of course, on the 5th November to the 11th November, I was in Norway. Norway is a very important inspiration for many of us who are progressive reformists, because Norway is the happiest place in the world. Okay? It is the best place for democracy. It's got social market economy, which means that they believe in the capitalist system for production, but they are socialist grounded to distribute the wealth after that. So that trip has been, mind-boggling and fantastic. It's a dream come true for me to go to this, this new Jerusalem, so to speak, so that we can look and try to understand how they live. So the visit was broken into 2 parts. One is just to get to know Norwegian people, so a lot of interaction with Norwegian people and government officials and ministers and also members of parliament. Then there was a formal part where we visited the Storting, which is the Norwegian parliament, and this is what we learned. We learned that Norway fundamentally is about not equal opportunity but equal results. Think for that for a moment, equal results, not equal opportunity. This country is dedicated to use their oil money, save it for the future, but then run policies based on the fact that you must get equal results for everybody. It's not enough that we allocate the same opportunities for all the races or all different types of people. We should drive towards getting equal results for them, and that's I think the direction of the global, I mean the world has to follow this kind of thing. So lastly, 18th to 21st November, that's basically last week, I was in Korea. I had to take the day off on Thursday away from Parliament. But you know, this Korean trip was very important because I represented ASEAN parliamentarians for human rights. And what did I learn? If you can't do it federal level, if you can't carry out reforms, human rights reform, democratic reforms or accountable reforms at the federal government level, Gwangju in Korea, where I met the officials from Barcelona in particular, and they were officials from Sao Paulo and all other cities. The official in Barcelona is showing the way that we can make those dramatic changes to engage our people, to help democratic rights to take place in the city itself. That means in local government. So if you have a screwed up system like the old Malaysia where the federal government is unwilling and not moving very fast, then you could actually carry out human rights reform at the city level. And I think that's the greatest lesson I learned from my trip to South Korea. No K-pop, nothing, I had no time at all to look at anything whatsoever. Mostly we flew in, there's a 6-hour flight, then there was a 4.5-hour bus ride, and then into the hotel, into the conference, came out. The only time I had was about 4 hours after the conference ended at 4 hours. We walked around the market and it looks a bit like Petaling Street. So, last word on the travels. I need to travel a bit more. I still have two more things to do before the end of 2018. But I'm really tired of it. But I must say, even though in the tiredness of it, I'm starting to develop a new form of thinking about public policy. And I think, you know, my constituents have to bear with me that the fact that I'm away for a lot of time, and also the fact that, you know, we're in the middle of party elections, so I'm also away during the weekends. But, you know, trust and have faith in the fact that we are doing our very best to chart new territories so that we can advise from the backbench, the cabinet, and other members of parliament to really reform and stick to the reforms that we need to do so that Malaysia can progress as a fully democratic country that respects human rights. So that's it for Q&A this week. And lastly, very lastly, the trip to AIPA was paid by the Malaysian government because we were part of the ASEAN parliamentarians. The trip to ANU was paid by myself, even though some people were very nice to pay for my accommodation there. The trip to Norway is fully paid by myself. In fact, my wife paid for that. And then the Korean trip was paid by the Gwangju government, Gwangju local government. So that's it. Full transparency, no issue. You know, I really sincerely hope I'll travel less next year. That's it for Monday Night Chat this week. Hi, welcome to Q&A this week. We have, as usual, 120 seconds to answer 5 questions. Helping us today is a visitor, Dr. Noor Diana. I met at the ANU. She's here on sabbatical. So she's actually holding the clock. So when I say press the clock, Diana, you press, okay? First question, plastic recycling. This is due to the fact that China has stopped accepting plastics from around the world to recycle. Now, our position should be this. If we use the plastic, we recycle our own rubbish. We do not send it to another country. And we definitely should not accept plastics from other countries to recycle. So please, Malaysian government, stop this immediately. Okay? Number 2, Kelantan having no money for operating budget. My position is this. I'm Kelantanese, so it's of course partisan. But I do want to see the federal government giving money to Kelantan to operate. If they don't give money to Kelantan to operate, what will happen is Kelantan will then be forced to sell more timberland, sell more mines to raise money. So that's not good for the environment, nor is it good for Kelantan overall. But if Kelantan receives this money, Kelantan must make themselves fully accountable. Is their civil service too bloated? Is there corruption, wastage, all this kind of thing? Accountability, quid pro quo. Yeah? Anwar is back in Parliament. That is the best news we've had. You know, our office has been pushing for reforms. Some people think that we're just being difficult with the cabinet. It's not true. We just want to reform the country. And now that we have Anwar back, my office will be supporting his office to push for reforms. So I think I'm really looking forward to his fight from the backbench. Now, the latest bills in Parliament: Street Drainage and Building Act, Children Young Persons Act, Hire Purchase Bill. Okay, this is run-of-the-mill kind of laws that have been passed. It's okay, no big deal. But, you know, for God's sake, where is the freedoms? Where's the freedom of, the freedom of speech? Where's the Unity Act? Where's the Sedition Act amendment? Where are they? Please, get it moving. And don't give us this, run-of-the-mill type of bills to pass in Parliament. Number 5, last one, death penalty. I'm definitely against the death penalty. I know a lot of people feel very emotional about this kind of thing, but for God's sake, go and see what amnesty does. Understand the issue. There's injustices, and there's also after you kill a person and you find out that he didn't deserve to die, it's too late. Yeah. So start the debate on this issue, and we've actually crossed the two-minute mark. But keep thinking about it. We'll try to address it later on. Yeah. So that's it for Q&A this week.